Okay, good to see you all again. It's me here again, Don, and I'm here to talk to you today about schizophrenia again. And also, while we're getting on to that, it's to be more about the sort of problems what we can have before we actually get diagnosed as being schizophrenic or having schizophrenia. For some of us, it's been a matter of psychosis that's been related to drugs, and we're not we get put in a padded cell or whatever, and we get violent, whatever, and after that we have to go to the shrink, and we most of the time we end up on medication for a while, or maybe just come good. It depends on how many times you get in trouble, I suppose. Me, I was a mad drunk. I was a mad druggie. I was mad all the time, and that's why there was no Sheilas around. While there was Sheilas around, I was mad for them, and I would chase them around like chook with its head cut off. And but what I want to get into right now is the fact that when you start being a drug user, you're never sure what you're going to be putting into your body. You had to be sure that people was going to put pills with it, going to mix up pills and sugar, talcum powder, all sorts of stuff they're going to put into drugs, especially when you're an intravenous user. You will find that there's some real pricks out there who don't really care what you're putting into your body. Matter of fact, they might even decide that they want to victimise you and make you sick. But the point is, what I'm getting at is that if you're going to use drugs, you really should test things for yourself. I could just go along here and I could put little bits of shit. What you will find will be like a fish aquarium stuff they will put in there. They'll put plant fertilizer in there, sugar, all sorts of crap. But you should experiment for yourself. Anything that looks like it might pass as drugs, put it into some water and mix it up, or taste it, smell it, know what it is, and just make sure you be really careful about what you're going to put into your body. Probably a good idea not to just taste anything. But yeah, I've even heard of people having battery acid, like that powder from batteries. I put that in the drugs, and yeah, there's some real cheapskates out there who will take a cheap shot at anybody they can, I suppose. And I'm picking my nose. So yeah, you need to be aware about these kinds of people, and you will find that there might be people that you could trust. There might be people that you don't know. There might be just people that you don't know mainly, and they're just out to get some money. Especially when you're young, say you're a young drug user, and plenty of times, a few times I got ripped off with weed, and other times I got ripped off with meth. But it takes something to get you addicted, and that's when you will find in the first instances when you first start using it, it's good, and you get the real stuff. And then later on they will start selling you some cut down stuff or whatever, because the cook's not selling to them, or I don't know what their story is, but yeah. Anyway, that was what brought schizophrenia on for me. I had I had psychosis, but it wasn't actually drug related. It was because I had tantrums when I was a kid. I was supposed to go. Was subjected to satanic ritual abuse. They killed rabbits and things in front of me, and nobody believed me what I was going through. and I became very destructive towards myself. I probably still am as far as my mouth goes, because I don't see the point in shutting up about people who deals drugs, especially people who grows drugs, people who's making a living out of drugs, and they're not doing anything for the community. But there are some people out there who use weed in a very, and it's a soft drug, let's face it, use weed in a very social way. Other people can use it in a very functional way. It sort of like helps them to distract them from their pain or whatever. This drug addict can never use it again. I can't smoke weed. Sorry, there's no chance. I like the smell of it. I like the look of it. It interests me as like a plant, a flower. But so far as smoking it and being stoned, I can't stand it. It drives me. It's one of the reasons why I ended up stopping drugs, is because of my mental illness and the drugs working against each other. I found that I was very susceptible to mental breakdowns when I was coming off the drugs, and it's not just meth or amphetamines, or it was weed as well. Because when I had no weed, I would start, I would get, and when I had no tobacco too, I started to get very, very, like, I needed to be off my head. I needed something, so I used to sniff glue. When I had nothing else, I could go and get a tube of glue, or I could you might as well just hold your breath and watch the TV for a while, as long as you can, and start getting head spins that way if it gets down to it. But I had to be under the influence of something, because I was a drug addict, and I had to have something to change my perspective. And I was so grateful to the church, so grateful to religion, and all the sort of things I could learn on computer and from the Bible and from just words themselves. When I first got the hunger for, and I got addicted to learning, it was good. It's good, man. I'm hoping you're learning now, because I always wanted to be a big time dealer, and yeah, here I am. I'm giving you the word. But you don't have to pay for it, so we're just sharing it. So, well, I guess we do, because we've got downloads. But getting back to the point, when I first started wanting to learn, it was because I had been working. I had a bit of money in my pocket, and I thought, I knew I could do whatever I wanted. I went to the Philosophical Society, and I was in there looking at philosophy, books on philosophy and magic and all sorts of stuff they got in there. Interesting stuff too about psychology and all that as well. People with some ideas about philosophy and astrology, different perspectives on the Bible, and different ideas concerning all the walks of life that you can take. Holistic approach to medicine. There's all sorts of different information you can pick up on, and I find all of it interesting. But yeah, I've only got so long to live, and I think that the mind, because I have schizophrenia, I think that the mind has to be the most, has to be paramount in my decision to be addicted to something functional, and that's what it's about for me right now. So, Philosophical Society. Looking through there, and I saw a book. It was a golden book, and ever since I had seen golden things appear, like plates and brass coins and grapes, olives. I don't think I've seen a supernatural fly. I don't know. Sometimes you hear like, and it's like, was that a fly? I don't think there's any flies. You don't know. But in actual fact, I have seen some matter that is like ghosts or those sorts of things. Look, white things coming down from the sky, going up into the sky, coming down on an angle. It's pretty rare I see them coming down on that angle. I don't know why that is, but it just seems to come down from there. Interesting. But with this matter that there is, and this presence that seems to be around certain people or some people, or a presence that seems to be around some subjects. When you start talking about something, then sometimes these things just appear to me when I start talking about them, particularly the hallucinations. And I have told psychiatrists it's hallucinations. That's why hallucinogens play havoc with them. It's like it's not so much like a bad trip. It's just annoying, because I used to get stoned and veg out and watch TV and stuff like that. But since I got schizophrenia, it was like there was some kind of bug got into the system. I was like, you can't veg out and watch TV. You got to listen to me. I'm going to talk to you, boys. And it's like the same thing when you're asleep. You'll fall asleep and then you wake up, and then all of a sudden it's like gets you thinking, and you can't get back to sleep. I don't think that's just schizophrenia. I think everybody gets that. It's like it must be something your brain gets active when you're asleep, and then you wake up and your mind is active, and it's like before you got time to even think for yourself, it's like you've stepped into a mode that you would be when you were fully awake, and it's like it's hard to snap out of that and get back down. But having to deal with people who uses drugs all the time, and you don't want to use drugs. It's like it's a choice that you make. It's like straight away that's sort of like it seems like you're a threat to them in some way. Like it's like people become defensive around you because you don't take it. It's kind of tough if you've got friends who use any kind of drugs, and you decide, I'm not going to take drugs, man. And then you find, shit, you've got no friends anymore. And ask yourself, were they really friends in the first place? You're going to miss the company for sure. But and it can, especially if you're covered in ink and tattoos, you've got violent history, and you've got no kids, and you've got no girlfriend, and it's just like, well, where do you fit in the world? It's like, well, I'm not but I don't make an effort in a social way for any reason. It's like, why make an effort to be sociable with people when there's so many bullshit people in the world. It's like some of the best people I ever met was in church, and I really felt like, I love it here. There's great people. They've got a good outlook on life. They're learning about the Bible. It's just awesome. But they've got their kids there. They've got their family there. I'm going to see somebody like me just covered in tattoos just wanders in. It's on my own, and it's not got no family. And I thought, why are you doing this? And it's like, I can't help it. It's God. He's got me, and I have to do something. And I hope that I'm being able to do it. It's not easy to be in a position where God's not pulling any strings. He's just saying, this is how it is. It's like, I can help people to understand that, but Jehovah's Witness won't come here no more. I mean, they're not bad people, but I just, when somebody who's a brother to me and then they want to enter into the clouds, it's like, hang on a minute. I was more interested in who Jesus is rather than going into the clouds and being there with angels and stuff. I mean, I can do that anytime in prayer. It's like with a brother or sisters. It's like let's discover what Jesus really meant by these passages, or what people in the Bible were really saying when they did these passages. And let's put it into a perspective that we can apply and relate to. And I think the pastor seems to be able to do that pretty well. He seems to be able to. A pastor seems to be able to take perspective and put it into a language that's going to touch our hearts, and that we can think about, and that we can take away with us. And it's a trade. It's more than a technician. It's a trade, and it takes a dedicated person, a dedicated life. Because the problems I had with my parents when I was first starting to take drugs was that they didn't like me sniffing glue, and I never was open and told the truth about using drugs. They didn't know, but when they sort of found out that I'd been sniffing glue, because I would come to the dinner table and I would stink of glue. And they would talk to me, and they'd worked it out that I'd been sniffing glue. And by that time I'd done a fair bit of damage already, because I was like 10, and I'd done a fair bit of damage to my brain already, because my brain was just developing. So I could see, we used to get a big tin. We'll get a tin of glue, like $10 or whatever. We'd chuck in $10, get a tin of glue, and we would all sniff glue. Or we'd get a tube each, because you get arguments over the tin. Because you go out of it, and then it's all of a sudden, who sniffed all the? It's the same as the old. You get a flag and a plonk, and it's like you have a skull, and it's like you go off tripping over doing something, and then you come back and it's all gone. It's like, hey, it's always the same story. But we've got into fights and that over that. That's for sure. But the problem I had was I didn't want to be honest with my parents. My parents knew. I think that they would have preferred that I would smoke weed or something like that. But people did try to help. They asked me about weed, smoking weed, and I said, oh, it's too expensive. The pocket money I was getting about $7, I think, $7 a week. And the pocket money was not enough to get weed. It was like $25 a bag, and it was this little money bag, and it was like $25. So you go 3 ways with your mates. We did used to get it, you go 3 ways or halves, and we'll get a bag, and it was like a big gone in a night, and that's like my pocket money. But I could probably get a couple of tubes of glue with the pocket money, and it wasn't hard to pill for a couple of dollars, few dollars here and there, from around the place when I was young. We had these armchairs, and Dad used to wear slacks, and he would have his money in his pockets. He would lean back in the chair at night, watching the TV, and in the morning he'd come out and he'd raid his chair. It was like if you were up early enough, me and my sister, we used to raid this, because I told her about it, and I'd raid the chair, and if I find, like dollar coins came out, and that was a bonus, because all of a sudden you could find dollars, and So it was one of the ways what we used to, you used to get enough money to buy drugs, was like that. But I think what happened sometimes is I used to get scared to take too much money, because I think my dad set me up a couple of times, to find like $20 or something to go and buy some weed, and it was like I was too scared to take $20 because I thought I will get caught for taking $20. I thought change in the chair, that's easy. You can't miss it. It's like it's coins. You just throw them into the water and make a wish. They're not really that important. But the notes were, and it always took. You couldn't go to buy any weed with $2 coins or dollar coins or whatever. Yeah, you could with cigarettes though. I remember cigarettes were pretty easy to get. I used to go all right with cigarettes from his chair. But yeah, I think if you're a parent and your kids are starting to use drugs, I think it's a whole different. I think it's a whole different thing now. It's a whole different situation. It's like marijuana is legal in some places, so I guess that young people are more likely to say to their parents that they smoke weed, or even their parents will probably get them stoned. They get to a certain age and he's starting to wonder. Let's have a party, and we'll just leave a couple of roaches laying around, or they'll be, so they can get some and have a little bit of fun with it. But yeah, I think you need to be careful with that sort of thing, because drugs can always, that can lead you on to other things. I mean, I didn't start with taking drugs by sniffing glue. One of the first drugs I ever had an experience with was weed, and I remember ever since I can remember, there was people around who smoked it and I'd seen it, and it was just something that was around quite a bit. I grew up in the 70s, for God's sake, so it wasn't, particularly here in Adelaide, it wasn't really hidden at all. It was like, not from the background what I was in, it's like everybody smoked weed, and if you wanted a cone, you just pull out your pipe, get your tin out, pack a cone and smoke away, go for your life. But in other parts of Australia, I found that it was a lot more sort of hidden and secretive, and I found out why. But to get back on to the main subject here is encouraging people to take drugs is the message you're sending. It's like encouraging somebody to experiment with drugs, and it can be a problem if you haven't got the right education with it. If you're going to encourage, or if you're going to support your kids in their choice to take drugs, then it's important that you give them the right education. Like I was saying in the first part, make sure that they know what it is, what it looks like. I don't know how to really put it. It's such a difficult subject when you put it that way. I think that in schools, that people find out about drug education at school. I guess it's like sex education, and your kids can be educated about the drugs and the effects and the downfalls and the up things. It should be a subject that people can take. I think that is spiritual enlightenment, or some kind of pilgrimage to this festival or feast or party where this is the focus. Like we'll go on to the Eki party when they have music all night. and it's going to be doof music all night, and I'm going to have heaps of people there, and there needs to be some people get up on the stage here and talk about what it means to your body, firstly, and to the people who love you, to see your body becoming damaged, or your mind and your love life. There was so much that can go wrong when your frontal lobe is open to be influenced by anything. Thinking that a lot of people don't start using drugs because they want to. It's because somebody they know has done it. One of the cool people they know has done it, and it's cool. And I want to try it because something such said it was cool, and I want to have a go because I've seen somebody taking it, and it was like they were having a really good time. They looked like they were having a ball. And when I was a kid, and I saw people drunk, pirates drunk on the rum on TV, I thought it was funny because they were staggering around the place and they were talking funny, and it was like it was some kind of a joke or something. I can't remember. I ended up drinking my grandmother's perfume because I thought it was I was being a pirate, you know. So I think that drugs has got a lot to do with the influences that we can come under, and sometimes we are more subjected. We're more influenced than we are influencers. If we're easily led, like I was easily led, I guess. Yeah, I was never really a leader. Now I don't really like to follow the lead, but I don't like to lead myself. It's like I don't like to be a leader, or thought of as a leader. I don't like to be a leader, but I don't follow leaders. So that puts me in a bit of a position there. Maybe I'm being moulded for something else. I don't know. But I think that because I fell into an addictive lifestyle and I blew a lot of money, what I'd inherited, a lot of money that I got from compensation on drugs and bad decisions, financial decisions, that I sort of gave up on money. I started to I don't think that money was worth that much. It didn't really teach me anything other than people's a mob of cunts. I just to put a bit more politely, that people would do anything to get it, to be, and I found that with influence too. The people would influence you to do things what they themselves wouldn't do, but they would make it seem like that they were doing it so that you would do it, and then laugh at you because you did. So I was easily led, and I really got stuck with addiction for a long time, and I was a drug addict for many years. I first stuck a needle in my arm when I was 15, and the last time I did it was, and that was 1985. The last time I did it was 2002. 2002, so that's like 18 years ago. But from 1985 to 2002, 85, 95, 2005, that's 85, 95, 2000, 2000. It's not that long, I don't suppose, nearly 20 years. But it seems like I was a drug addict, I was a drug user, and I did blow like a lot of money there at one stage. And I was putting anything I could in my arm. I think to start with, it was because it was a concert, and I think that's important for young people to really have this vision for being qualified to go to a concert. Now, if you're a parent, it's like, yeah, we're going to go to this concert, and on that night, say, here, this is a part of what I wanted to share with you, but we only want to do this when really special occasions, and I want to make this a night to remember. So I want this to be it. But I think at the same time, you really need to be in tune with your kid, because if you do something like that and they're easily influenced, they could quite easily tell somebody about it, and then somebody knows where to get it, and they'll be off and they'll be gone. You never see them again. So I really don't know what to do. I'm not a parent, but I think when I was a kid, what I needed was some kind of a pilgrimage that I could qualify, once a month, once 6 months, or once a year. I think it would have been better once a month, where I could get out, have an all-nighter, and get on a good thing with people I knew and trusted, so that it could be an awesome thing. But a lot of the time through my teenage years, I was such a violent prick, and I just wanted to fuck anything that moved, and it was just like that. Nobody really wanted me around after a while. It was like you always get us into fights, or you know what I mean. So I thought I was just living it out, but yeah, I was breaking in to hell, I think. Anyway, I think that's what I needed. But in an environment where I had some older people around who are more supportive, who already had experience with that, with what I was going through, or the experience I was having, it would have made a lot of sense. But these are kind of visions what I would have for the future, for, of course, not necessarily for your parent-child type thing, as it is like an experience you have with some of the musicians and superstars. What's out there? They really hook into the crack, or to the cocaine and acid, or whatever it is their thing is. They hook into it pretty bad themselves and end up in a bad way. So I think we really need to own this influence that we can have on younger people. We need to own this influence we can have on people our own age, just people around us everywhere, even older people. The influence we can have on them. It's really, really important to be able to own that, and to be responsible for it in some way, not just in this lifetime, but beyond. Because that's another totally different subject of the satanic ritual abuse I mentioned earlier. That I started to learn about that, and find that there was a lot of other stuff that's related to that's about conditioning somebody for a particular role in the afterlife. So yeah, being able to really own this influence that we have and be responsible for it is really going to be a defining thing that's going to really empower the nature of the nature of humanity. I think it can be a good thing. People should be with people, doing what people do. So many people never make it to be lawyers or doctors or high income people, and a lot of the time we just aspire to be able to go out on Friday night, have some beers and get high. That's it. Saturday. If you can still do it Saturday, something's happened on Friday that made it possible. That's what and I think that people need to, particularly people in government and places where they're able to say we want this as a part of the infrastructure, and we don't want this as a part of the infrastructure. And I think that a lot of people is searching for a spiritual breakthrough in their life. A lot of the time, labour is stuck in a repetitive job on this, or your retail sales, you get bored with people, and there's a repetition that goes through there, and you can just get bored with it. It's like, oh, here we go, one of these again. Or your boss is telling you you have to do it this way. You work out an easier way to do it. It's not quite the same. No, it's got to be done this way. This is the process. So a lot of the time there's frustrations like that, and they can. No, well, you've got to do what you've got to do. Don't get me wrong, but you can get into a mindset where you just had enough, and you want to let your hair down. You want to get out of your head. You want to have a holiday, and this is one of the problems with drug addiction, including tobacco and low income. If you decide that you are on a lot of us do, we have a low income, and a lot of us who are on a low income decide that we want to have a break from the crappy jobs what we get, and we'll get off ahead. That's how you do it, and everybody else is doing it. It's like you're all on holiday together for the weekend. But I have to say, I don't have to say, I want to say that weekends away never ever compares to a month in another country. And if you can get off of this, just the cigarettes for a year, there's a month in another country. It's like, how mind blowing is that? Like you go to Japan and see Tokyo. It probably cost, I don't know how much it will cost, but it probably cost heaps. But tobacco for a year costs you heaps. So you do that, and what? And at the moment it's going to be hard to travel, yes, but you can go to Sydney and you can have a pretty good time in Sydney we'll see a lot, and there is a lot to see over there. Melbourne the same, Darwin, and Outback, mate. This is Australia, mate. We've got some of the best Outback. You want to see the stars out there, but these are all things what I've been able to experience whenever I come into a windfall, money, and was able to just drop everything and go. Or it was money I worked for and saved, or I got credit because I worked and I was able to go, and I didn't smoke, and I didn't take drugs, and I didn't drink that much. Not like using all my money to drink. I mean, I did drink most weekends, but I did drink most weekends, but I didn't drink in excess that much. Like I go out to, and I might drink, like 10 pints or something like that, and that's what, $7 a pint, $70. It's like I'll be hammered for that. And then when you get the taxi home, and plus you're gambling as well, it's probably $150 for the night, because I don't gamble that much. But if you have a win, you might add, I don't drink that much each night either. But the point I'm getting at is that your holiday that goes for 2 days, on the weekend with your wages or your savings is nowhere near as good as a month in another country, or even 2 weeks in Bali, two weeks in Darwin, when you could probably you got the same weather there in Darwin. You could do the same thing there. There's not a lot of differences. It's probably a lot of the same atmosphere, just not as on a bigger scale, and people from all over the world, which I guess we're going to have to get used to, or maybe things are going to change. But yeah, a couple of weeks in Bali compared to a couple of days every week over 6 months. So, because Bali's cheap, you can go there cheap. It's a lot of difference to spend a couple of weeks somewhere having an experience than it is to spend a couple of days on a weekend getting off your head and just like blowing it. You're not really having the experience. Even matter of fact, some of the times, like I said before, majority of the times I was just seemed to be going around in circles, doing the same things, trying to get the same chicks, trying to get drugs off the same, but trying to just going around not doing anything that was going to change my perspective. And I think that once I got out of the habit of doing the weekend on getting stoned all the time, because that was expensive too. Because when you buy your weed, it's not that expensive, but it's expensive if you do it all the time. The same as drinking. Amphetamines, that's expensive. That can be very expensive, and it's something that you can stop and put it into a holiday in another country. It's like, wow, you go to another country, you can take pictures, and you can look at those pictures, and it's just like, yeah, you know what, that was one of the best times in my life. That was a time when I was doing something that I can remember, you know, because you have no doubt anybody else, but I used to overdo it the majority of the time, especially when I was younger, and overdo it. But these were the lead up to schizophrenia. Then the schizophrenia kicked in, had a religious experience, started to stop using drugs religiously, started to learn things religiously, became more interested in my mind, how it works, how I could read the Bible, and how I could apply what the Bible was saying, how I could put it in a perspective that I could use, that I could employ, that I could help people and myself, especially my own mind. Because schizophrenia always seemed to got this thing that's going, you're going this way, clockwise, yes, I'm going here next week. This one's going, you did that last week, you did that the week before, you did that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month ago, you're this, you're that. You're not going anywhere. You're nowhere. You're going nothing. You're no good. You can't do it. It's not happening. You're no good for anyone. You're not having a good... And on the other, it's good. I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying myself. I'm doing things I want to do. I'm learning new stuff all the time. And it's like this all the time. I'm trying to go... It's like this way and that way and there. If you try and do that with your fingers, you will find it's difficult, but you'll get used to it. If you keep trying it, you can do it. I used to do welding. I was welding. I couldn't get my hand around the right way to get these corners in this jig. So what I had to do, I could do it easy if I was left-handed. I could weld with the left hand, and I started with it, and I got used to it. And then I could weld with my left hand, and that job became easier and easier and easier. Not that I was ever a great welder, but I did it for a couple of years, and it was something else that I can say I've done. but I was never that good at it, and it was not that great of a job. I got burnt quite a few times. I couldn't have a beard, or I couldn't have long hair. It was something my boss was already worried about employing a disabled person. If I had these, it was a disability workshop for retarded people, which I fall into that category as being retarded. So they had to make conditions so that people could work and do a normal day's work of what somebody else would be doing in that position, but without the pressure and with all the safety with any. They already made it safer than what it was in the other jobs. What I can say is they already won't go through the job with you, and it's a repetitive job, so they tell you to do it in a way that's safe. And a lot of the time that would drive me nuts. It's like, why do I have to do it this way? And it's stupid. I have to do it this way because it's safe. And it's like I had to have both my feet on the ground while I was welding. I couldn't sort of balance this way or climb on something to get. I had to do it a certain way, and if I did it any other way, I was getting in trouble. So you soon learn, and to be able to follow instructions. That's a thing. But I'd also worked in the open workforce, and I had to do risk assessments, and I had to. I'm driving a forklift, and I had a green card, and I could work on a construction site. You use all the power tools like angle grinders, reciprocating saws, mechanical hacksaws, changing the blades on those, and doing all these sort of technical jobs. What people who aren't retarded do, and I was doing pretty good at it. I thought a lot of the time. But I always get a monkey, I can always get somebody who wants to be mischievous enough to, they'll pinch your spanners or pinch your pliers, and you're looking around and you can't find it, and it's like, I've forgotten where I put it, and it's like, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to be able to deal with that in the workplace when people's leaning on you like that. It's like, get off me. Stand on your own 2 feet. I'm not a threat to you. But like I said, when you're not on the drugs, and you're not on the drugs, and it's in the open workforce, prolifically, people are smoking weed. If you're not smoking it, and you've got the guys out there smoking weed during the break, at lunchtime or whenever, you're an instant enemy. You're an instant risk. You're an instant threat to them, because they could lose their job and their livelihood and have a criminal record because they're using drugs on the job. It could affect their employment chances for the rest of their life. And if you don't take drugs, and particularly if you're religious, if you don't take drugs and you go to church, it's like bang, straight away, you're at the bottom of the pecking order, mate. There's no two ways about it. You need to really be in a good job to be able to because a lot of these people's already established there, and they're already, they come in. There was a few jobs I had where the druggies in the place. I worked in a polymer factory, and it was always druggies come in there, and they pretty much employed people who weren't that clever, because polymers polymer's pretty poisonous. You got the mocha, it's the hardener for the polymer, and the fumes from that is carcinogenic. It's written all over the drums. They use these hardeners, and the fumes go in the air, and the fumes can go into your lungs, because once you're heating it up, you heat it up in a microwave, and it's all about ratios, and it's a kind of a job where you will find that people who just want the money and don't really give a shit. They just want to get some money to get off their heads on Friday and Saturday. That's where they're at. But you do find some other people in there who's trying to make a living, but they didn't stay there for long. I was there for about nearly 4 years, and there was quite a few people went through the place while I was there, and I was in a grip blaster, preparing the things for Chemlock. There's this super strong glue, what the polymer sticks the metal onto the metal with. It wasn't that good of a job, but because I had to work with trichloroethylene, that's not good. Trike's no good at all, and that was just sort of get the oil off of the metal after it had been welded together, like a frame, and then we'll put that in the trike, and then blast it with the grip blaster, then paint it with the Chemlock, what's this blue like glue, it was glue, like a contact glue, and it's stick the polymer onto it for like wheels. Here you get the wheels on like steel wheels and polymer around the outside. So it's like a glue sniffer's heaven probably, but it's talking about trichloroethylene and Chemlock. But I never always used to wear a mask. I was really just at that stage, so I didn't want anything to do with any of the fumes or nothing. So it was a job, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a job, and I managed to be able to build a foundation to get off of the medication what they was giving me. But they seem to be drifting away from the points of trying to make of drug use and schizophrenia. I believe that drug use led me to have a psychosis and act out of character. And after psychosis, acting out of character, falling under an influence, what I wouldn't normally be falling under, I found I was in a position where my life had become unmanageable. So, but before I had that realisation that my life was unmanageable, I had to be like so delusional. Like I had to realise that I was in the illusion that I was living in wasn't a reality that was going to take me to the places that my heart was longing for. I was very close to death, I think, and I had some serious attempts to kill myself, and not just once, quite a few times. Like I sliced my wrist once, and that was the main serious attempt where I got caught out. But there was many other times when I've made myself a noose and I was going to hang myself. Many times. All that time I smoked weed. They weren't hard drugs. I was taking psychiatric medication. It wasn't a high dose. I would just get to the point where I was so depressed and unhappy because I couldn't medicate myself and feel the way I wanted to feel. That I would just want to kill myself. And other times I thought I was going to go to my dad's house, and I was going to kill myself in his shed when I was 18, and I'd just been caught for something. I think I just got out of. I can't remember what I'd done, but I was. It might have been 19. No, yeah, 19. I was 19, and I tried to slash my wrist, but I had it didn't work, and I'd gone through some stuff, and I'd sold my bike. I'd lost my car. I ended up. I had nothing, and I got my dole check, and I bought myself a length of rope, and I was going to do it, and then I thought to myself, while I was thinking about it, I was staying in a hotel room. I was thinking, if I'm going to kill myself, well, I'm just pretty much homeless. But yeah, I was in a hotel that night because I'd been paid. I was thinking, where am I going to do this? I need to find somewhere where I'm not going to get caught, because I want to be able to die. And I thought, you know what I want to do? I want to go to into my dad's garage and hang myself in my dad's garage, and my dad find me. I thought that was the best way I could have revenge on people that weren't able to give me the attention or the bond that I thought, the bond that I needed. But under the circumstances, because of the influence that was placed within me. Some people get an influence. They're under an influence. They have an influence around them that can be taken away from them, and they sorts their head out. Other people that can have, and I'm talking about demonology to be quite honest, but some people they use these things to put on people. So that they have a realisation and pull their head in and start to live right. Other people have an influence that goes into them and makes them, especially when you're only young. Like I was only a few years old when this demonology started being used on me, and it wasn't just one person. It was people around me all the time, not my parents, but other family, my grandmother, and people that she knew in her church. I think it had a lot to do with their church, and it was the Salisbury. If you're wondering what the church it was the Salisbury Uniting Church. It was across the road from my school. I was just like, oh God, this Adelaide, mate. There was some real creepy stuff goes on here, and it's not just churches, mate. It's worse. But I think about it a lot these days. People are trying to turn people away from churches. They're trying to turn people off going in and giving a confession and getting it right and being repentant. A lot of people it seems to be that people aren't being encouraged to do that. And when I gave a confession, it was like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. It's like I don't have to carry it no more. And then I went and told everybody about stuff I'd done, and it was great because all of a sudden I was able to carry it for Jesus. It was like all that time I was carrying it. It was killing me. It was killing me. But because I come out, told the truth, it's like Jesus died for my sins. He was a witness to that. He came and told me that I didn't have to live in bondage anymore. So I spoke up. Why hide it? Why hide what this demon was put in me to be a destructive influence, not only in my life, but all the lives around me. I can, in hindsight, you can see it. So I'm 50 years old now, so you're going to be able to see how these things affected you and other people in hindsight. But when it's happening, man, it's like there's no, you don't. It's not even considered. I didn't even really remember the program Magic dude killing the rabbits in front of me. White rabbits, a big rabbit and a baby rabbit, and I wasn't trusted with the baby rabbit. I had to pat the big rabbit, and then he put the little rabbit down on the ground, and he took the big one and he killed it. No, he killed the baby rabbit. He's killed the baby rabbit, but he's killed that. And I said, oh, what are we gonna? He's killed the mother rabbit, or the big rabbit, and he's killed that. And I thought, oh, because I'd seen my Uncle Ivan, he'd killed sheep, and in front of us, because we wanted to have chops, and me and Raymond and Toby was two kids what I knew, and we were like carrying on like animals eating the chops. So I went out with Uncle Ivan. He poached a lamb, and he strung it up, he scun it, and he cut it open, and I was just like, whoa, that's where chops come from. Oh my God. But it wasn't done in a way that was traumatic. It was like, this is where chops come from. Don't be a dog. Which was pretty much what I was doing at the at the dinner table. But anyway, so I'd already experienced blood, guts, all that before this had happened, and I thought, are we going to have a lamb for? We're going to have a rabbit for lunch, and he just looked at me. I didn't know who he was. He came to my grandma's house. He wanted to take me. She let him take me. I was so traumatised by it but at the same time, I asked questions. I said, "Well, we're going to have a rabbit for tea," and he said, just sort of looked at me, and then he's killed the baby. It's a little tiny rabbit, like a little cute little rabbit, and he's just killed it. You killed the baby rabbit for? And he said, because you killed its mother. And I'm like, what? I killed its... That was... And I was just like, I got into trouble for something he'd done, and he was the adult telling me off for something. I was just like, overdrive, fried, fucking... It was like instant brain... I didn't know. I was beside myself, I guess. It was traumatic in that way. And it seems like ever since those people did that to me, I've been struggling for my identity. But they're a big group with a lot of influence. There's not a lot I can do about it, except for bear. And my grandmother used to stir me up about having to be a bear, that I would have to bear everybody's judgment, and that I would be a joke, and all these things that she had spoken over my life. And she was devout. She went to church every Sunday and got involved. She would do dried flowers and all this, and yeah. So church. When I think about that kind of thing, it didn't really occur to me that stuff had happened to me when I was a kid, and that I had to go and see a psychologist because I had a bit of a breakdown when I was a kid over that, and my mum took me to a psychologist, and the psychologist said there's not a lot he can do except for put me on psychiatric medication, and my parents did this after I was hallucinating in my bedroom of this what was this baby rabbit, I guess, but I thought it was a rat, and it was there cleaning its teeth, but it was a rabbit there with its nose. You know how the rabbits sit there with their nose going like that, and it was just sitting there. It was like it was haunting me, and I never I still don't get how that all works, and how that matter can manifest in the world. But I guess it's got a lot to do with the trauma and things not being ready to die, I guess, or people not being ready to die, or something like that. But you can be sure that I'm sure that there is more beyond this life that goes on beyond this life into another life where we can find out about all these things and account for them and the influences they had on our lives, and find out what happened to those people who exposed us to that, and find out what happened to those people who exposed them to that, and them to that, and them to that. I've got to take it all the way back to find out the very roots of it, because I think that will be the justice to what I seek, to get to the beginning of it and see how each different person put a perspective or put part of their personality into it, and how it became so destructive. It'd just be interesting to find out all about it and analyse it in such a way that it eliminates the trauma and the influence that those traumas have, not just on myself, but all the other people that's been involved in it. Because when I first realised that had happened to me, I was watching a TV show, and it was about a Satanic, a farm of people who were being farmed, and they didn't really say it was there was all women, and they said it wasn't really Satanic. They said it was like a place where they were not allowed out of the confines, and these women had escaped from there, and they were being used to breed babies, and they would use them for sacrifices, and also train them in specific ways and plant them into communities to influence those communities. I guess the communities were like schools and churches or other things what they've got. I didn't actually realise that I'd been, and that was when I was about 27, I reckon. I reckon it was about 27, so that's almost 20 years all through my my teenage and youthful years of not being aware that I had been exposed to these destructive influences, and that they had an adverse reaction or effect on not just me, but all the people who had anything to do with me. There's so much of all that I can that I can go into, but it seems like I talk about myself too much. When I'm really doing this for other people. I want to give other people the opportunity to be able to recognise the signs of a mental illness, the risks that they're taking when they decide they're going to take drugs, and what's a good way to be able to stop it and arrest that destructive behaviour, put it in its place, and make the life you always dreamed about a reality. Because the world's just full of experiences to have, not just with other people, but with the planet itself. And there's so many things that you can imagine. Desert islands, mountainous places, or covered in snow, snowy plains, polar bears digging holes to catch. You can go to these places and see it happening. It's all still there. You don't have to sit there and watch it on TV. You have to wear proper boots. You have to wear proper clothes. You have to wear everything that's warm. Keep yourself warm. Go there. Check it out. It's worth it. It's worth it. Do it. Fucking do it. Anyway, you've been hearing from Uncle Don again and again and again. Hopefully you'll join me again. Bye for now.